Hi, everybody. This is Lee, and I'm talking about a follow up from another video I did, talking about the possibility of recalling certain members of Congress who are recalcitrant and not representing the people of their district or of their state, that instead they've chosen to represent corporations. And while corporations do have money, they don't have votes. It's the people who have the votes. And so I said, rather than there will be consequences, I'm of a mind that consequence time is here and now, not in the future, because we're seeing the votes already. We've seen so many votes, the confirmation hearings of Trump's cabinet, for one, and then votes on prescription drug imports. We've seen votes on health care or health insurance. We've seen votes on many various items. And I feel we've seen enough. That consequence time is here today and now. That, we don't have to say, well, there will be. Hey, let's do it. That's how I feel. But anyway, I went researching to see how this recall can be done. I know the state of Wisconsin has a mechanism for recalling a congressman, a member of Congress. It's state based. There's no mechanism in the United States Constitution to trigger a recall of a member of the U.S. Congress. It's a privilege and a right reserved for the states. And so that means there's 50 states and some territories. And that means research, because each state is different. So 50 different scenarios. Anyway, I did preliminary research and I found 3 states. Wisconsin is one, of which you can recall a congressman if you so choose. And then Oregon is another, the state of Oregon, that you can recall a congressman from Oregon, and New Jersey as well. It's possible to recall a congressman in New Jersey. And so if you're a resident of one of these states, you do have this option. That's all I've found so far. I feel that that can't possibly be all. I'll keep looking. If you find them before I do, please do post those states and maybe a link or something to the wording, short paragraph in the comment section. I've got some stuff in the description that leads back to information on Oregon, Wisconsin, and New Jersey, and we'll see what we come up with. That it doesn't have to be all of them. It can be some of them, one of them. It can be most of them, depending on how people feel. I mean, the residents of the state have to decide. But what I'm seeing, what decided me to make the suggestion is the fact that there's so much foot dragging on single payer health care, and that people are dying. They are suffering very greatly. They're terrified and stressed out on, can I afford my prescriptions? Can I meet the deductible and then go get, some sort of treatment, hopefully? What's the copay? And these premiums are killing me, but, and my disease is killing me, but, my premiums are killing me too. It's a matter of which will get to me first. And so people are desperate. And there's games being played, power games being played in Washington, D.C., and that even some members of the Democratic Party are being cute with their flirting with the Republicans. Maybe I'll reach across the aisle and be bipartisan. I'll move to the center, and and we all know that that's actually a move to the corporations. Reaching across the aisle, moving to the center, in the spirit of bipartisanship. That means Wall Street. It means insurance corporations are getting the vote, actually. And so, recall. That's what your recourse is, recall. And hopefully, if more heads are involved with this research, it won't be just Oregon, New Jersey, Wisconsin. But I think that's good for a start because I'm counting the number of possibilities, coming up with a sizable number. That's 6 senators, 2 from each state, that can be adjusted or recalled and replaced if possible. So that's 6 senators so far, and then adding up the total number of congressmen, I think that's 31. If I've got a map of the number of electors from each state, and I think it adds up to 31 between Oregon, Wisconsin, and New Jersey. And so that's a sizable number. That's a shift in the vote splits, the vote margins on certain legislation, certainly on single payer. And it might be a case of some members of Congress have to go under the bus in order to make others realize that the voters are serious. And that what we saw in the United Kingdom with Theresa May losing her vote majority, well, not her vote majority, but not being able to achieve the number that she wanted, and in fact losing power as a result of a snap election that she called. And one of the reasons why was that she seemed to be making unpopular choices about National Health Service, and that there would have been a burden placed on older members of the community that they would be taxed. They call it a dementia tax, informally. But there would be some amount of financial punishment for older members of that community with her readjustments with the National Health Service. And people were not about to let that happen. And so there were consequences. And so our election system is slightly different. We do what we can with what we have. And what we have is some, state constitutions that have given the right and privilege of recall to their citizens for congressmen who are playing cute in Washington, D.C., or even congressmen who are making actual moves to further threaten the health care and well-being of citizens of those states. And so again, I'm hoping that there's more. I'll keep looking to see if there are actually more states that have this. I'm thinking Washington State, but I looked at their constitution and the wording was too vague. I couldn't make out really if their recall applied only to local and municipal officials or even to state and federal officials. So, the people in Washington might have to investigate that with their Secretary of State and see what the details are. Anyway, that's, again, something that you can do from the, if you don't have to travel to the, this coast or that coast or Washington or this convention or that site, you can do that right at home. It's something that you can do. Good luck.